At this point, it probably seems like everyone you know has been exposed to COVID. Maybe you've had it yourself, but there is a small percentage of the population who are naturally immune. Researchers are trying to understand what makes these people virus resistors. And for more on how this could help develop better treatments in the future, we are joined again this morning by infectious disease expert, Dr. Isaac Bogoch. I want to share something with you. First of all, we've had COVID in our home. You know, there's been COVID at work and COVID in our friend circles. I have yet to come down with COVID that I know about. So I now sign off my emails like with these two emojis. I call myself the virus ninja because I somehow seem to have avoided it at all costs. But there are teams at McMaster and McGill who are looking into why there are some people who don't get COVID despite their being exposed. What's behind it?
Well, for starters, I think you have to coin that term virus ninja. That's fantastic. I mean, listen, I think there's a couple of points here. One is, yeah, we know that there's lots of people who have been exposed who have not yet come down with COVID. And I think there might be a lot of reasons behind that. But what we're talking about here is a very, very small percentage of the population that might have something about their immune system that would make them intrinsically resistant to getting COVID, meaning they have some immune protection already. Now, this is really interesting because it's not actually exclusive to COVID. When we take a step back and we look at other infections, it was thought that there might have been a very small percentage of people that would not come down with the plague when that was ripping through Europe hundreds of years ago. And even, believe it or not, with HIV, there's a very small group of people who would not, who might have been exposed to HIV, who just don't come down with HIV. So there's something unique about a very, very small percentage of people that may be exposed to COVID that just don't get COVID. And I think it's fair to say that we don't have all the answers to this yet, but scientists are really looking at one component of the immune system. These are called your T cells, and these are cells that really help fight off infection. To learn something about this, such that maybe if we have a better understanding of who these people are, why they can mount such a strong immune response and fend off the virus, can we learn something about this to really help create better vaccines or better therapeutics?
Right. Well, as you say, international investigation has started. They found about 700 people worldwide who were exposed to COVID, but then tested negative and never developed antibodies. So 2 questions here. How is this different than being asymptomatic? And how do I know if I'm a virus resistor?
Right. So if someone is infected and is asymptomatic, that means you just have no symptoms. You still have the virus. You still got the infection. You just have no symptoms. And even some people who have that, some people with no symptoms, or even very, very mild symptoms that they don't actually recognize as symptoms, can still be transmissible to others. You're still infected, your body still sees the virus, you still mount an immune response, you still have antibodies against the virus, and you can sort of pick up that immune fingerprint that the virus has been there. But this is different. These are people that don't mount that immune response. You don't form antibodies to this. Your body has fought it off, and you never actually got the infection. And of course, you had no symptoms because you never had the infection in the first place. So I think that's a really big and important distinction. I forget the second part of your question, so I apologize.
No, that's okay. It would be how would you know if you are one of those people who just isn't going to get COVID?
You wouldn't. Yeah, you absolutely wouldn't. You wouldn't. You might have a clue that maybe you were exposed but didn't actually come down with COVID. And then you could say, hey, listen, there's a clinical trial that's looking at this, and you might volunteer for this trial. But ultimately, they're going to have to do some blood tests to really determine if you truly didn't mount an immune response. Now, again, as you've described, there's a lot of people out there that perhaps COVID has come into their home. And many people under that roof got COVID, but not 100% of people under that roof. That's actually not uncommon. We see this, pretty frequently. Usually if COVID comes into the home, depending on the variant, depending on the home, depending on the circumstances, anywhere from 40 to 80% of the people under that roof will come down with COVID, sometimes 100%, but it's not always 100%. So there's more to this than just the virus. There's also the immune response, and there's also the degree of transmission under that roof. So there's, obviously we're talking about a tiny percent of the population that has some intrinsic resistance to COVID. But most people that have COVID entering their home that don't get COVID don't have that.
Yeah. I should also mention, I've been triple vaccinated. I mask all the time. I wash my hands all the time, and I'm very careful. COVID ninja. I'll let you know if that changes. Thanks, Dr. Bogosh.
Have a good one.
All right.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.